3 pitfalls when selecting elder candidates right now on the Church Revitalization Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Church Revitalization Podcast, brought to you by the Malphurs Group team, where each week we tackle important, actionable topics to help churches thrive. And now, here's your hosts, Scott Ball and A.J. Mathieu.
Welcome to the Church Revitalization Podcast. My name is Scott Ball. I'm joined by my friend and co-host, A.J. Mathieu.
I never know what to do there. It's always awkward. Like, I feel like you're introducing me. I need some kind of response. If I just sit there and don't say anything, I don't know. I like finger guns.
You need a catchphrase. I don't know.
We've been doing this for 5 years. I don't know. I still don't know what to do.
300 and some odd episodes into this. It's okay.
It's probably too late for a catchphrase.
It's not going to catch on. Yeah. And I'm not going to say anything different to start the episode. I
think we're locked in on that. I don't know.
I think if we quit, maybe someone would miss it.
Yeah, probably not, but we're probably not going to change that.
We've had the same lady do the introduction since the beginning. It's been the same.
Well, yeah, since it's a recording, we have had the same lady. We don't interview new ladies every week, and we keep hiring her.
No. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's been the same recording, I guess. We had to change out the music, though, because YouTube didn't like our old music.
You know, that's pre-AI. That lady predates AI.
She's a real woman that
we could have probably an AI intro every week. It'd be different.
Yeah, we could. I guess we could. But no, we have a real lady, a professional voiceover actress that we paid probably what? $40?
Tens of dollars to.
Tens of dollars to say, we want a professional introduction to this podcast, because that's the kind of quality we're going for on the Church Revitalization Podcast. All right, that's enough chit chat. We're going to talk today about elder candidates, and maybe you don't have an elder team, maybe you have a session, maybe you have a church council, maybe you have fill in the blank. This top senior leadership team at your church. Hopefully you have one of those, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, different episode, different conversation. But how do you make sure you don't make some mistakes in selecting some people or electing some people to be on said team? Before we dive into these 3 pitfalls, though, I want to give a shout out to the Healthy Churches Toolkit, where we have healthy board training in the toolkit. There's a course. I know we talk a lot about leadership pipeline and we talk a lot about strategic envisioning. Those are the sort of those bigger courses in there, but we have a couple of shorter courses. One is the small groups with Adam Ehrlichman and the build group stuff. It's excellent. We also have a board training course in there as well. So if you'd like to check that out, go to healthychurchestoolkit.com. Free for 7 days. You can take a peek at that.
That's a good thing to do. All right, you ready?
Wow, thanks for the enthusiasm on that.
You've only done this a couple of times.
You could muster a little more enthusiasm for that. Do you want people to sign up for 7 or not?
Promise, I love the Healthy Churches Toolkit. I absolutely love it.
You're in that course. Do you remember filming it?
I don't remember filming it. We've filmed several things. What location was that filmed at?
We were in Virginia.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I haven't even forgot about that. We
filmed it when we did the pipeline filming.
Yeah. Good stuff.
It's so good. He forgot he was in it.
I'm just a pretty face here on the podcast.
I've been so many things. I don't even remember all the content I've made.
Had a face for podcasting.
Okay, let's do this.
All right. So, this is slightly adjacent outside the scope of today's episode, but perhaps as a precursor to point 1 here, even Scott, the fact that people even need to select elders in some environments we would say probably is unhealthy, because you might have like lifetime appointment elders. And you're like, we don't, I mean, maybe if somebody dies, we'll think about this, but we're never going to even talk about this for who knows how long. So that could be another episode on a healthy board, and what that looks like when they're serving.
I misunderstood what you're saying.
Yeah.
I feel like you're pulling a Scott ball and adding a bonus point that's not in our,
maybe it's kind of
our
bonus point.
pre-production notes, but you're saying if you're not even thinking about selecting new elders, that's a problem.
Yeah, because you have an environment in which it is so rare that
right. It's been the same three guys for 30 years.
Yeah. And what made me think about that is because point one is that we sometimes, when we are going to select somebody and we're, casting our eyes across the congregation, we sometimes confuse longevity with competency. And this is our first point. This is our first pitfall to avoid. Don't automatically think that old guy that's been here most of his life and teaches Sunday school and doesn't, because who knows what he's even teaching. A lot of churches, you might have no idea. But it's that longevity piece that they're here. They're just a part of it. And that's who we're looking to. And that might be a fully qualified, excellent choice. All we're saying is don't let that be your primary criteria. We gotta go deeper.
Absolutely. I think the two things can be true. You want people who have a history and a track record of, being at the church and being connected to the church and being invested in the church. Those are the people you want as candidates, but just because they've been there a long time doesn't make them a good candidate. You shouldn't probably bring someone on who's only been there a year. That wouldn't be good because you don't really know them. But don't confuse longevity with competency. When we think about competency, I want you to think of it through two lenses. Obviously, the most fundamental lens is the biblical qualifications. That's baseline, and it's probably where your mind immediately goes. If you're listening to this, you think, I'm thinking of 1 Timothy, I'm thinking of Titus, I'm thinking of these places where Paul lays out the qualifications of an overseer. But I would like to layer on top of that leadership skill. There are a lot of people who have good character. They're a one-woman man. They they control their temper. They, all of the things, right? But can't lead themselves out of a paper bag. They're totally conflict averse. They don't know how to make decisions. They haven't really led people. And I would contend that those are biblical qualifications because the Bible talks about, Paul writes in Timothy that the idea of being an overseer is someone who manages his household well.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't just like he's a good dad, but there's management capability or capacity there. And speaking of a household, not just family, but does he manage his affairs well? And so I do think that the Bible even hints at leadership skill, but churches just tend to not go there mentally. They think, is this a good guy?
Yeah.
And if he's a good guy, then he's qualified. And I'm saying go further than that.
Yeah. I think we definitely have to do that. So often, I know I can think of several churches right now that are in a bit of an elder crunch. They just they don't feel like they've got qualified people ready. Some of those are because it's a smaller church or more of a transient church, or they don't have an environment in which you really can lead people. You can develop leaders. And so sometimes you just end up kind of behind on these things. You end up needing somebody, but you haven't put the work in to prepare people, not focusing on one particular person, but multiple people, so that you've got more competent people ready to lead in that way when the time is right. When the Lord reveals that it would be time for them. So this requires some pre-planning. This requires some, a leadership pipeline in the church, even if you don't have that in the broad sense of the term that we would use it in, at least in a more narrow sense of like, we are, as a pastor, I am maybe mentoring some guys, or I'm at least meeting with guys and trying to disciple them up. And it makes your job easier, makes the church's job easier when there is an opening for an elder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't be in a rush, like to elevate somebody who is not ready. And I know some of you guys get into a sticky situation because your bylaws require you to have a certain number of elders, but then you look around the church and you go, we don't have that. We don't have it. And man, I'm not saying to violate your bylaws. Maybe I'm suggesting you would need to amend your bylaws and say, hey, we would rather elevate the right people than be meeting the requirements of our bylaws, and elevate people who are not yet ready. Yeah. So be sure you get this is maybe the most significant pitfall, is just not being able to distinguish between competency and longevity, and making sure you kind of pick the right person.
Well, you know what? If you are up against that bylaw situation, it says you have to have a minimum of 3. You've got 3 right now, and you're thinking, I don't know, if we lost one of these, I don't know who it would be. Maybe this will be a little kick in the pants for you to take on this task. Scott, we just did a leadership development episode, 2 episodes ago, and go check that out so that you can kind of get this moving towards that direction. This is we're speaking to you. Go do it. All right. Our second pitfall to avoid is overlooking team chemistry. So again, some of you are thinking, well, this is a luxury that I've got so many people to choose from. I can get down to this kind of stuff. So hey, we admit it. Sure. If you're scrounging to get one other person with you, this is probably a lower priority. If you do have a luxury of multiple qualified candidates, consider who is currently on the board and be aware of this. I'm not a huge proponent of all of the personality and temperament assessments. I think there's value there for sure. And I wouldn't
be honest. You hate them.
I hate taking them. I respect the value of having the information. But I would not be in that. Like I wouldn't every week, every time, John responds to me, I'm not going to be processing, well, gosh, I know John's, whatever temperament type. And so let me really think about how to respond to him appropriately.
Well, that's just his 1 on the Enneagram with his 3 wing,
But I do think, I think this is a valid thing to consider. Again, if you have this luxury that, Scott, in our pre-show discussion on this, or even you and I, considering our team dynamic, and we've talked about this before. You're a great idea guy. You're kind of like, let's try this. And I'm a little bit more of the brace guy. I'm the qualifying questions guy. I was like, well, what about? And I'm pretty good on moving forward. But even our dynamic is the kind of thing you would want to see in an elder team. We don't want a whole room full of guys that are like, let's try anything tomorrow. That's probably not going to be
last week's episode where I'm recommending that churches go into debt. Yeah. You do. It's good to have someone in the room to go, whoa. What?
Let's think about this a little bit. So I think maybe that's a good way of illustrating what we're trying to say here on team chemistry.
Totally. And I think that one of the big recommendations I'm often making to churches that they just haven't ever thought about this, and they get so locked in on thinking about the biblical qualifications, which is good. They should do that they forget that there are also other things. Just like you can layer some additional leadership skill things on top of that. I mean this in like a good way, if there is such a good way of using the word manipulate. Maybe shape is a better word than manipulate. But team composition is something that you can form and you can shape. So I don't want to say manipulate because that has a negative connotation. But you can look. A team is a thing that you can go, okay. It's like a recipe. You can add ingredients to it. And when you add different temperaments or skill sets into the group, it changes the dynamic of the group. And maybe if nothing else, just have an awareness of that. When we add, we're adding AJ to the team. AJ's personality is like this. He comes with this background set of experiences in his career, in his family, in his life. And that is going to impact the dynamics of this team. And you don't have to be a victim to that. You can also have a role. So you might have 2 or 3 good candidates, fully qualified, great leaders, good character, but there's only one seat open right now. That doesn't mean no for forever to the other 2 people, but right now there's only one seat open, and you're trying to decide who would be the best fit. You could go a couple of ways with that. You could do what they did in Acts and cast lots, right? They cast lots, and Matthias was the one who got the seat. I'm not making a theological claim here. I mean, some could contend that that they made their decision and then Jesus made his with Paul. That's one view. I'm not saying that's my view. I'm just saying.
That's good. That's fun to think about. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a controversial statement. Some of you who are listening to this are going, no. But they've, in the moment, the apostles felt like 12 was the number, and they had an empty seat, and they needed to fill it. And so one interpretation is what I just said, that they filled it and then God filled it. Another interpretation is that within the 12 tribes of Israel, one of the tribes is actually 2 sub-tribes. Mm-hmm. And so God is matching that you have that the Matthias was the correct selection, but then you have the addition of Paul as an apostle, as sort of like mirroring that 13th. So anyways, we don't need to get sidetracked there. All I'm saying is, if you have equally qualified people, but only one seat, consider chemistry as a component. And is that person maybe bringing a different perspective, a complementary perspective, a different skill set, a different personality type that might positively impact the church for the season of ministry that you're in right now? And you can be going through a season where you need more breaks, or you could be going through a season where you need someone who is a little bit more of the gas. And having the discernment and the wisdom to know how should we form this team is part of the process. So just don't overlook chemistry. I'm not saying it's the only thing. I'm just saying don't, or even the main thing, but just consider it.
Yeah, it is a pitfall to avoid. All right, our third pitfall is failing to clarify the role expectations as an elder, or again, whatever you call that senior board. A lot of churches are in this space. They haven't defined that. They don't have they don't have an elder manual. They don't have job descriptions. They've not done maybe even any comprehensive onboarding. And this is something that needs to be avoided. So when somebody becomes an elder, now they obviously can read 1 Timothy and Titus and see what the qualifications are, but that doesn't necessarily translate into what the function is in your particular church. What are the responsibilities of the elders? How do they relate to the church? How do they relate to any staff people that you have or volunteers? These are all things that need to be discussed and decided upon so that you can onboard somebody effectively and avoid what you're avoiding here are the pitfalls of miscommunication, of embarrassment, of burnout, of unmet expectations, of conflict. So this is a point of clarity for your elder team that deserves the attention of good documentation.
Yeah, we actually just talked about this in one of the recent episodes. I don't remember which one, but maybe it was a leadership development episode. I can't remember. But we talked about okay, if you're going to start letting go of some things, like you need to almost think through a start-stop list.
Yeah.
What am I going to start doing?
What was that episode? It was
Yeah.
2 episodes back, I think. Yeah.
I'm losing track. But, when you become an elder, what would you start doing and what would you stop doing? I cannot tell you how many times this is a central component in a dysfunctional elder team, is they've not really thought much about this. And so you have elder groups who are really involved in things they should not be involved in, and they're not doing the things that they should be doing. And it isn't poorly motivated. The intention is 100% good, but the reality is not good, because they didn't all agree this is what our role is supposed to be. Here are the boundary lines of what we should be acting on and what we shouldn't be. What volunteer roles should we quit doing, while we're actively serving? This is maybe another reason why you should consider including some sort of terms where you're serving for a season on the ruling elder team, and then roll off at least for a little bit, because these might be some of your best teachers, but you don't want them committed every week to teaching a small group, because you need them available for other things, or to be able to fill in, or to be able to step up in other ways. So creating that list, this is what you do, this is what you don't do, and everyone agreeing on that is so important. So I guess, I don't know, all three of these things are pitfalls that I see, AJ, when I work with elder teams. I've done elder board training with a number of churches, and as I do some informal evaluation with the teams and we have discussions, these things come up all the time. We've got good guys, but who aren't really leaders. We have teams that are either too similar or too divided. And we have, leaders who don't know what it is they're supposed to be doing. And so they're wasting a lot of effort because they're not unified in the focus of their actions. And these are really key pitfalls in elder teams.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have anything to add to that. I mean, I think this is a really manageable list for you to implement in your church, to clarify these points and to make this a part of your process whenever there is a seat to fill. So hope you'll take these to heart. Definitely check out healthychurchestoolkit.com. Get in there and go through that board training course. And
there's a lot of stuff in the resource library geared to elders as well.
That's true. We do have a lot of resources for that. And it'd be good to even watch this with your team. If you don't have things like an elder board manual or something, if you feel like we need to really tighten up our selection process and our function, get together and go through some of these resources together in the training. I think you'll be better for it going forward.
Totally. All right. The link for today's show notes is in the description of wherever you're listening or watching this. If you are on a platform where you can leave us a review, we would love that. Hit share, hit subscribe, smash all of the buttons. That's helpful to us. We want to say thank you. We don't do that enough. But we've seen a lot of growth in the last, 6-9 months. We've been doing this for 5 years, but we feel like we're finally hitting our stride.
Get the hang of it.
We're slow learners, but we're finally getting the hang of it. We're learning a thing or two. And we just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening and watching week after week. We really appreciate each of you. And we don't always ask you for your questions in an intentional way, like sending an email out like we did, I guess a month or two ago. But we want you to know that we are send an email to us anytime, leadership@malphursgroup.com, or put a comment down. We figured out some of you don't like leaving comments because they're public. So you can email us anytime, and it's confidential.
You're always welcome to do that. Thanks for being with us, everybody. We'll see you again next week.